Hello, everyone. Today we are going to dive into a world that many consider controversial, but which undoubtedly offers profound lessons about power, control, and yes, making money. We're going to talk about Niccolò Machiavelli, a Florentine statesman and philosopher whose ideas about politics and human nature are still debated centuries later. But before you tune out thinking this is just another history lecture, let me say this. We're going to apply his radical principles to the modern arena of personal finance and business. Why are you staying poor while they get rich? Maybe it's because you're not playing by Machiavelli's rules. Machiavelli lived during the turbulent Renaissance, when Italy was a patchwork of warring states. He watched power being seized, held, and lost. His most famous works, The Prince and Discourses, were not textbooks on ethics. They were a guide to realistic politics. Cruel, but effective. He did not ask what a leader should do, but what a leader does to succeed. And therein lies our first lesson. Accept reality, not ideals. Machiavelli was a pragmatist. He saw the world as it was, not as he wanted it to be. Most of us are raised on fairy tales where good always triumphs and honest work is always rewarded. We expect the world to be fair, but reality, especially in the world of money, is often much more ruthless. The rich are not always rich because they're the kindest or the hardest working. They are rich because they are effective, often ruthlessly effective, in achieving their goals. Think of the people who are constantly climbing the career ladder, or the entrepreneurs whose startups take off, while others work hard but remain stuck. They see opportunities where others see obstacles. They act decisively while others hesitate because of ethical dilemmas or fear of failure. Machiavelli would say, stop dreaming about how things should be and start understanding how they are. How does this apply to you? Perhaps you are missing opportunities because you are waiting for ideal conditions. Perhaps you are avoiding certain types of investments or business partnerships because they seem not quite right from a moral standpoint, while others are using them to enrich themselves. Number 2, the art of deception and appearances. This is one of Machiavelli's most controversial ideas. He argued that a ruler must be prepared to pretend and deceive, if necessary, to maintain power and prosperity. In the context of making money, this is not a call for fraud, but rather an understanding of the importance of perception and strategic communication. Think about brands that create an image of exclusivity and quality, even if their products are not very different from their competitors. Think about how politicians carefully craft their image for voters. In business and finance, this means you must be able to sell yourself, your ideas, and your products. This could mean creating an impressive resume, even if you don't have much experience. It could mean presenting your project in the best light, hiding its flaws. Machiavelli did not advocate constant lying, but rather an understanding that people often judge by appearances. If you want to be rich, you must look and act like someone who is capable of becoming rich. This includes your speech, your clothing, and your confidence. You create an impression that promotes your goals. Number 3, reputation is important, but don't be a slave to it. When talking about deception, Machiavelli also emphasized the importance of a good reputation, but there is a nuance. He believed that a ruler should appear virtuous, merciful, honest, pious, but be prepared to act in the opposite manner if circumstances require it. For us, this means that you should strive for a good reputation, but don't let it limit your actions. For example, you want to be known as a reliable and ethical person in business. This will attract partners and customers to you. But if a situation arises where strict adherence to ethical standards leads to your financial ruin and a slight deviation saves you, Machiavelli would say that you should be prepared for that deviation. Again, this is not a call for immorality, but for strategic thinking. Don't let principles that look good on paper interfere with your ability to earn and succeed. Rich people often understand that there are different sets of rules for different situations, and they know how to switch between them. Number 4, use fear, not love. Another shocking statement from Machiavelli: it is better for a ruler to be feared than loved. Why? Because love is fickle, while fear keeps people in check. In the context of money, this is not a call to be a tyrant, but an understanding of the dynamics of power and influence. Think about negotiations. If you come across as someone who is willing to walk away, who is not afraid of losing the deal, you have more power. If people know that you will not tolerate poor work or unfair terms, they will treat you with more respect and caution. This doesn't mean being unpleasant, but it does mean being assertive, setting clear boundaries, and being prepared to stand up for your interests. If you always try to please everyone, you often become someone who is taken advantage of. Rich people often demonstrate this type of fear, not fear of physical violence, but fear of financial consequences or loss of opportunity. They know when to say no, when to back down, and when to strike back. Number 5, always prepare for the worst. Machiavelli was obsessed with fortuna and virtue, luck and valor. He understood that fortune is fickle and that a successful ruler must be prepared for any unforeseen situation. For us, this means diversification, creating safety nets, and continuous learning. Many people lose everything when a crisis hits because they put all their eggs in one basket or had no savings. Rich people often have multiple sources of income, various investments, and assets that can help them weather difficult times. They don't naively believe that everything will always be fine. They plan for the worst-case scenario so that they are prepared when it happens. This is insurance. This is risk hedging. This is learning new skills to stay relevant in a changing job market. Number 7, learn from history and observe successful people. Machiavelli constantly referred to historical examples to illustrate his points. He learned from the Romans and other great figures of the past. He carefully observed what led to success and failure. In our time, this means continuous learning. Read books on finance, business, and the psychology of success. Study the biographies of successful entrepreneurs and investors. See what they did, how they thought, and what risks they took. Don't reinvent the wheel. Learn from the experience of others. Rich people do not stop developing. They are constantly looking for new knowledge and strategies. Number 8, act decisively and quickly. Machiavelli always emphasized the importance of decisive action. Hesitation and indecision can be fatal. In the world of money, this means the ability to make quick decisions and act at the right moment. Opportunities are often fleeting. Investment windows open and close. If you think too long, you may miss your chance. Rich people often have the ability to quickly assess a situation, make a decision, and act without delay. This doesn't mean being reckless, but it does mean being capable of making balanced but quick judgments. Conclusion. So why do you remain poor while they get rich? Perhaps because you're playing by a set of rules that do not correspond to reality. Machiavelli was not a moralist. He was a realist. His lessons may seem harsh, but they offer a powerful insight into how the world of power and money works. These principles are not a call to unethical behavior, but they are a call for strategic thinking, for understanding that the world is not always fair, and for a willingness to adapt and act decisively to achieve your financial goals. Stop being a victim of circumstance and become the master of your own destiny, even if it means embracing some Machiavellian principles. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. And remember, knowledge is power, and applying that knowledge is the path to wealth.